So this is for the coaches, that I'm going to do an exercise with the players. And I reckon that coaches should do this with their team when they assemble their team. The first session they do, this is what they should do, because it teaches you a lot about your players. It also informs the players of what your expectations are of them as far as performance. So mental toughness is all about performance. Have you guys heard that expression before, mental toughness? Is it an American expression as well?
Yes.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Be strong with the mind.
Strong in the mind. Why?
To overcome
to perform well under pressure.
Fantastic. To perform under pressure. To perform at what level under pressure? All right, so if you're a coach and you sit down with your group, the very first question you've got to ask them is what it is, and try and work it out and try and get a definition for it. And so that's what I'm going to do with the players. So if the coaches just observe the process, and if they try it themselves, they'll get good at it. I'm a believer that coaches don't need to bring sports psychologists into their session. I think coaches have to drive it. Because the objective for a coach, in my mind, is to help your players become their own sports psychologist. Because all these guys are very different. And what they have to do is they have to understand themselves and what rings their bells, what turns them on, what motivates them, and how to get themselves in the mood to perform. And the only person that can do it is them. And the coach who comes into a room and thinks, shit, I've got to motivate 15 guys, it's a bloody hard thing to do, is to read the mind of 15 people. In fact, it's impossible. Because there's guys sitting there that are really, really quiet, but you don't know what's going on behind the surface. And you can't be expected to do that, but if the players can learn to understand themselves, what type of person they are, what arousal level they are, what mood they're in at the time, then they can adjust and apply themselves, develop a process so when they go on the field, when the whistle goes, they're firing right from the start. And wouldn't that be easier for a coach if their players really bloody nailed it right from the first second? That's what we want ideally. And from a player's point of view, how many times do guys in this room feel that they started poorly but they got into the game as the game wore on and they got better and better? Yeah, you know that feeling? It's a terrible feeling, isn't it? Because it would have been a hell of a lot better if you'd nailed it right from the start, eh? All right, so I'm not sure how many rugby players in America that you know and I know. I don't think there's probably too many. So what I want you to do as a player, I want you to think about a sportsman in this country. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Think about a sportsman who does the business, who is bloody good, who's the top of his game in whatever sport it is. Think of that sportsman and now start thinking about why you think he's such a great sportsman. There must be a reason. Not because the journalists say he is. I mean, you may, I don't know, the Miami NFL team, you know, there might be a player there that gets all the media, but you know there's another guy that really, really does the business, a guy that you think is absolutely vital. Is that fair? Do you see that? I mean, I don't know whether, I don't follow NFL so much, but I guess the quarterback gets a hell of a lot of media, does he?
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe the wide receiver who's taking passes. But there's often a guy who's doing a shitload of work that creates opportunity for the others. And he just does it time and time and time again. And those are the sort of guys that every coach wants in his rugby team. Because those are the guys that hold the whole thing together and enable the stars and the X factor to come out. About 15 coaches from all around the world, mainly Southern Hemisphere I will say, and I've asked them two questions. And the first question is, you know, what is mental toughness, and is it an important thing? Do players need it? And the second question is, did you have a process to prepare to perform? So what I want to achieve out of this session is I want every player to think really hard about what sort of person he is, and we'll get into things like arousal level and how he prepares to perform. So there'll be probably in this room, everyone in this room, whether you're a coach or a forward, if you're a coach who played or a forward, you'll remember a game that you played really, really well in. Put up your hand if you can remember a game you played really, really well in. I can, and I'm ancient, but I can remember it so clearly this particular game. How did it feel?
Great.
How did it feel the next morning when you woke up? What was the first thing you thought of? Well, you know, I often say to rugby players when I'm talking about the subject, I reckon it's the best thing in the world. You know, when you played a bloody good game, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you think, shit, I had a bloody good game yesterday. And I often say it's actually better than an orgasm. You know, some of you guys may not have had an orgasm. But it is, because I know that some mornings, and I'm not the only one in this room, there'll be other people, some mornings over my period of my life, I've woken up in the morning and I've thought, shit, I had a good game, and then I've realised there's a girl next to me in the bed. So that to me proves that it's bloody better than orgasm, because if there's a girl next to me in the bed, there's been an orgasm. But I bypassed that, I thought about the game. So I reckon it's a great feeling. So what we're trying to do here, coaches, what we're trying to do is get these guys to work out a definition, a really simple definition for mental toughness, so that they understand what mental toughness is. That's really, really important. And I'm going to help you a little bit. But the guys in this video that we're going to play here, they'll help you too. So listen to key words that often are repeated by different players. And they've all formed their own opinion. All these guys are players that have reached the top level, the very top level, and they've been outstanding at that level. And they've all got a slightly different view, slightly different take on it, and certainly a different way of preparing before a game. Did anyone before training, before the first session, did anybody go through a process to prepare so that they were sharp when the coaches took them out there? Did anyone in this room? That's great. That's great. Because I reckon you all should. You all should, you know. And the more you practice, it's like any sport, how do you get, or anything at all, how do you get better at catching and passing? Practice. How do you get better at preparing to perform? You practice. And one's physical practice and one's mental practice. So you hear when you interview any sportsman, I hear American sportsmen all the time being interviewed, and often the interviewer says, you know, when it comes to the big game, the big stuff, how much of it is mental and how much is physical? And what's the answer that they normally give?
Most of it's mental.
Yeah, how much?
90%.
Yeah, 90%, 85%, 95% mental. Yeah, in rugby, what percentage of your time do you spend on mental development? How much do you spend on physical development? We got it wrong there somewhere, haven't we? If 90% is mental and you're spending 90% of your time on physical, there's an imbalance somewhere there, right? So, definition of mental toughness. We're going to get it. We only want about 10 or 11 words, no more. And if you've got a pen and paper, you can start thinking about it as you hear this video. But I'm going to make it easy for you because I'm going to give you the first 3 words, and then there's some key words that follow. I don't know whether you can all read this, but so those are the first 3 words. The ability to. To what?
I learned it too late because I sort of relied on skill. You know, I could always pass, I could always run, I could always tackle, and I thought that was enough to get me through. But you come up against guys that can do exactly the same thing you can, and then where's your advantage? Where does that come from? It comes from your mind. I never learned that until maybe 5 years before I finished playing rugby.
Mental toughness in rugby is all about getting your brain in the right place where you can concentrate on the task in hand and perform at your maximum every single time you play. And I think to do that you've got to have a process. And we all have our different processes and different opinions, but for me personally I had to have a signal. There was a time when I had to say, yep, now's the moment, think of less. In other words, think more clearly. And the way to do that is to think of less, just concentrate on the majors. And my process was quite fundamental really. I used to sit in the changing room, close my eyes, visualise pulling on this big light switch. The light would come on, that was my signal that I was channelled now for the rest of the game, you know, for 80 minutes. And then I'd come in after the match and I'd sit down in the changing room, close my eyes, switch the switch off, and all the pressure and tension in my whole body would just drain out, and then I was ready for the party that night.
So it's huge, you know. I think in tight situations, and certainly at test level, and obviously in mid-game rugby, that's what gets you through. But never mind the skills, you've got to have a good skill base all round. But if you haven't got that mental toughness in the end, then that you can forget about getting into that team for a start, because that's normally the difference between either making a team, certainly an international team, and when you get into that team, it means the difference between winning and losing. You know, when you have coaches, and I guess some of them still do today, they say put your body on the line, and you think, well, what does that mean? It means giving everything. You can put your body on the line, but there's only one thing that makes you do that, and that's your mind.
Yeah, I found my own techniques really revolved around my preparation, you know, how I mentally prepared myself to play a game of football. And, you know, I'd go through a set routine of what were the key issues for me for my week when I trained, what were the key issues for me moving forward into the game that I wanted to achieve, and then post-match, what were the things that I needed to look at in my game so that I could go away and try and improve. So just a set routine from week to week.
I'd say, in my view, it's about 90% of it's mental. Getting yourself ready for big games, prepared for the pressure that's going to be out there is going to be the biggest challenge. You know, physically you can be right, but if you're not mentally there, you'll never perform. I played the game before I was even out there so that it becomes second nature.
So visualisation as well?
Yeah, absolutely, as well as doing it during the training, so making sure that I imagined that the crowd was there, that the pressure was on, that we needed to score the try or kick the goal or do whatever.
Mental toughness, for me, it means the ability to function at 90% of your capacity in terms of talent and ability. 80% of the time you play. 10% of the time you can be at peak, and 10% of the time you'll probably be below average and have a rough day at the office. And so the ability to front week in, week out and get a job done.
I believe I probably took advantage of it quite well, because over the years you build a reputation of being mentally hard, physically hard, and it probably works against the opposition just as much as it works for you.
Yeah, and did you sense a weakness in some players? Could you sense that they weren't mentally tough and then you put the heat on, or made you feel even stronger?
Yeah, you do. You can sense someone is a bit tentative, and if they're tentative you hook into them a bit more, because it's a sort of killer instinct. If you see someone half lame, that's a chance to pounce.
It's the one thing that separates great players from good or okay players. And the reason it separates them is because it's very hard to measure. It's something that the players have to, it's an unrelenting pressure really, isn't it? To put the pressure on yourself to perform, to train, and just to go on with whatever obstacles you might have.
The ability to do what you have to do, when you have to do it, for as long as you have to do it to get the result. The tactical, physical and mental, the one that makes a difference really is the mental one, and that's the only one that you get big changes out of yourself very quickly.
Well, probably the most important aspect of any rugby player is his ability to compete. Out of any player, you look, there are hundreds who can go out there. They can run the 40-meter dash at the same time. They can go and bench press equivalent amounts. They've got great ball skills when they're not under pressure, and it's the ability to execute under pressure that's really important, and that is very definitely your competitiveness, your ability to play in the intense heat of competition and to compete.
For mental toughness plays a huge part, especially in professional rugby. I think guys who are mentally in tune and got a good plan in place for themselves are usually the guys that succeed at the high level. They're consistent with their routines, their preparation for games. They know what makes them tick. So I think understanding the core key elements for them to make sure they perform on the field are crucial. So I think it plays a massive part in professional rugby.
So I didn't lose a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen and what's the result going to be, who am I playing, and all that sort of carry on. It came back down to what I'm going to do, and I basically had one line: it was be the difference.
Obviously, for me, I think focus was a big thing. I'm a pretty relaxed guy, so getting on the field, and I think in our position, fullback sort of winger area, you can go through the game and not be too involved. So focus is quite key, because the one time you do touch the ball, it could be pretty important. So yeah, I mean, I used to sort of lay in bed the day of the game and think about things I might do on the field, who I might run off, and visualise that. And
mental toughness for me was doing preparation during the week all correct, so ticking the boxes, knowing I've done my research, knowing I've done my homework, knowing I've done my preparation during the week, that gave me the confidence to perform on a Saturday.
I suppose for me, mental toughness meant that you had a standard. And a standard individually and collectively as a team that you wanted to make sure you played to. If I played poorly in a winning team, I'd be pretty pissed off. And I think that's mental toughness, that you've got a standard you set, and irrespective of what the scoreboard tells you, you come off and you can judge yourself. And making sure you get yourself your preparation is right, and you get yourself in the right frame of mind to basically go out and structure stuff and do your best. And it was really important to me that that I played to the standard that I expected of myself.
Well, to me, it's everything in the game. Your physical, your skills, they give you the ticket to play, but the mental toughness will differentiate how well you play. That'll be what actually makes you a great player. No matter what level you're playing at, you've got to believe that you're good enough. You've got to believe that you can be better than the guy you're up against. And if you've got that on your side, if you actually do live with that, then it'll drive you that bit harder.
I always just used to think about things I was really good at, that I backed myself, and I try and get excited about the fact that I had no opportunity to go out there and show that. So instead of worrying about the negative stuff and the stuff that I wasn't so good at, I concentrate more on my strengths, and that'll just give me that confidence. And really sort of blow my ego up. So by the time I hit the field, I felt like I was bulletproof.
So if you were a young player today, just starting off in your career, do you think it's important to have this understanding of what mental toughness is?
Yeah, I mean, don't do it, you'll never make it, so it's your choice.
New Zealand have scored 48 points and they might be looking for 50. John Cowan.
Guys that said the same thing. They had the same, obviously the same way of preparing, which I thought was quite interesting. Visualisation, visualisation is seeing, imagining something in your head before you do it. And Christian Cullen, Jeff Wilson both did visualisation. Self-talk, Grant Fox, when he talks about kicking goals, he says, head down, follow through. I've done it in my sleep 1,000 times. But the best athlete, I think, to sum up self-talk, was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, what did he used to yell out to everybody? I'm the greatest. I am the greatest. That was his belief, and he was telling everyone that wanted to listen. And it was sort of convincing himself as well as other people that he was the greatest. So he wanted positive thinking, and I think that there were a couple of guys out on that video, John Eales, the great Australian captain, Jones and McDonald, they all said, you've got to believe in yourself, you've got to believe you can do the job. And that spread to guys like Ian Jones, I think, David Nusafora, the Wallaby, and they said that they had to go through and tick the boxes, that they'd done everything in the week, they were ready to go. So they had to feel good about their preparation, otherwise they wouldn't perform. Relaxation, Christian Cullen, best rugby player I've ever seen in my life. You saw a bit of it there. He said, I used to sit on my bed before games and think about running off certain players at certain angles, and you saw the video clip of him running, Carlos Spencer chopped off his left, and then all of a sudden Cullen just bloody burst on the inside and he just put the ball back and just straight through in a test match against the Box at Ellis Park. So there's definitely patterns, and everyone's different, and what we need to find out, what you all need to find out is where your thing is. What is your way of preparing, and how do you do that? And it's going to be different. If, you'll be sitting next to your mate in the changing room, ready to play a game of rugby, and you might be a completely different person to him inside and have a completely different way of preparing. So it won't be the same, and you've got to find your way. But I said before that, you can remember a game of rugby that you played well in. So one way of doing it is to think, well, what did I do before that game? If I played really well, what did I do? How did I prepare? Even if you weren't conscious of how you prepared. And you go through it and maybe you repeat it the next game. You repeat it the next game and you play badly, it was just bloody lucky. You still haven't found your game, your thing. So, definition of mental toughness. What do you reckon the next word is?
Murray, I've got a quick question. Do you think that's important for the referees as well?
Bloody oath. Yeah, referees, some of them are just waiting to blow that whistle, aren't they? They're looking for a reason to blow that whistle at the start of the game. They're nervy, and the whistle goes, and the whistle goes. Yeah, they do. They need to be really composed and really onto it and seeing with clarity what's in front of them so that the game can be played immediately. Yeah, absolutely. Are you a referee?
As little as possible, but Phil.
Thanks, mate. So anyway, what do you reckon this next word is? Perform. What I like about you Americans, you're bloody smart, eh? The ability to perform, because that's what this is all about. This module is all about the ability to perform. Can we add to that? Execute under pressure. Yeah. What's another way of saying that? At your best. At your best. Yeah. What's a better word? Give me one word, because we're trying to cut it down to as few words as possible, so you never forget this. What's a one word instead of at your best? Peak's pretty good. Optimum's pretty good. Some people don't understand optimum. It's a real easy word. There's bloody front row forwards in this room. I don't understand optimum. There's one word that in about 5 different languages. It's the same word. Maximum. Who said that? Good stuff. Are you a prop? No. The ability to perform at, if you want, you can add the word your, you can talk about you, but you don't have to. Ability to perform at maximum. One word missing in my mind, probably the key word. Potential. What do you think it is? Consistently? Yep. It is. What's better than consistently? Every single time. Every single time, yep, that's a bloody lot of words for one. What's every single time, one word? Always. Always or? I believe in simple. Every time. Every time, it's real clear. The ability to perform at your maximum every time. So if you're mentally tough, and you'll have guys in your team, everyone will think of a guy in your team. If you're a coach, you'll know who that guy is. But every time he plays at his bloody maximum. And there's a couple of great examples, and I don't know your rugby knowledge, but England we've got a rugby player called Johnny Wilkinson. Has anyone heard of Johnny Wilkinson? Yes. Okay, so this guy, every time he plays at his best. And a classic example is the World Cup before the last. He had a crook shoulder. He was lame on one side. And he played in the World Cup, and he was the main reason that they got to the final. They got hammered by South Africa in the first game by about 40 points, just bloody dead. And then they realised they weren't good enough to compete, and playing the game and using the width of the field and stuff like that. So they sat down, they said, well, how the hell are we going to win? if we're not good enough. If we're not as good as South Africa, got beaten by 40, spreading the ball and playing, how can we win this? How can we win this World Cup? This is exactly what they said. And they all decided, well, we'll win the bloody ball, we'll give it to Johnny, we'll get him to kick it high in the air, and then we'll fucking hit whoever catches it. And anything could happen. And that's what happened, that's what they did. They got all the way to the final by doing that. Just kicking the ball in the air, territorial game, and he kicked everybody goal that bloody was given to them. He just kept on banging them over. And it would have been a travesty if they'd won it with half a game, because that's all they had, half a game of rugby. In the end, they played South Africa in the final, who'd beaten them by 40 in the first, and South Africa won by, I think it was 2 points you'd done?
Yeah, it's pretty close, yeah.
2 points, 1 point, something like that. It was real close. Johnny Williams had a crook shoulder, couldn't tackle on one side, and yet he played at the best he could play. And we're not talking physically, we're talking his mental ability to perform, even though he wasn't 100% physically at his best. And he drove through that, you know. So the mind can actually drive you through a situation. You know, if you're carrying a little injury, you've just had a problem at home, you know, or something's gone wrong, your mind can drive you through that if your mind is strong enough. And you worry about your problem after the game. So therefore you've got to narrow your thoughts down a little bit and just focus on what you have to do. Funny word, focus. You know, everybody uses focus, but what actually is focus? What's focus?
Clarity.
Clarity, what does that mean?
Clarity on the priorities.
Clarity on?
Priorities.
Shit, that's all very complex for me.
Concentration.
Single-mindedness, yeah.
Concentration.
Concentration, yeah.
Being dialed in and present in what you're doing.
Say that again.
Being dialed in and like fully present.
Still didn't understand that.
Dialed in.
Dialed in.
Yeah.
It's great the way we all talk so differently. I was talking to someone last night at London at a pub, and he said to me, I couldn't understand a word you were saying for about the first 5 minutes because I couldn't dial in. Yeah, I mean, focus really is narrowing your thoughts. Focus is thinking about less. Is thinking about less things. Like if you're only thinking about one thing, you've got more chance of doing that really, really well than if you're thinking about 20 things. Now I think I've got a real simple diagram. I like things simple so you understand, you know. I'm a simple Kiwi, I suppose, but this here explains it to me, and I know that some of you learn by visual. So if you imagine this situation, okay, so this is your life here. So this is your, you know, your family, you know, your sports, your hobbies, your work, whatever, all the things in your life, this area here. And when you play golf or play rugby or whatever that you want to do well in, you actually have to take your mind off some of those things, narrow your thoughts till you're just thinking about just one thing, the thing you're about to do. Sitting an exam, making a speech, doing an interview, playing a game of football. And that there is called the performance zone. That is the spot. That is the spot you've got to be in when you run onto a rugby field. If you run onto a rugby field like that, you're not going to do the business, are you? Do you agree with that? So that's what I think focus is thinking of less, and specifically one thing. So, does anybody in this room have a process of preparing themselves to perform? Put up your hand if you've got a process. Do you mind telling everybody what that is, what your process is?
I'll go off on my own and I visualize the game and what's going to happen and what could happen.
So you see it, you're one of those guys, and you know, at IREMS over the last 13 or so years, rugby players, about 65% of them use visualisation to prepare. It's just a very, very common thing, seeing it happen. In fact, Johnny Wilkinson, you know, have you seen Johnny Wilkinson kick a goal? Has anyone seen him kick? Yeah. So before he kicks a goal, he sits like that, doesn't he? Now, he's not in Europe practicing to have a crap. He's not, you know, he's about to kick a goal. And he said, what do you think he's doing this for?
Focus.
You know what he's visualising? He's visualising, you know, and what do you think he's visualising? Kicking the goal. You know, he's got a spot, he's seen a spot between the goalposts, a spot in the crowd. He's thinking about him going forward, with his body positioned forward. He's thinking about his plant foot, his weight over the ball, hitting the ball, he feels it. And he lifts his head and he sees it going through the goalpost. How many goal kickers have we got here? You 3, 4 guys. What's the hardest kick? What's the hardest kick to get in a game of rugby? From the sideline? What do you reckon?
Probably the right side.
Right side?
Yeah, right side.
I don't agree. It's the first kick. It's the first kick. First kick's the hardest kick. If you nail the first kick, how's the second kick? How's the second kick when you nail the first kick? It's a hell of a lot easier, isn't it? You're feeling good about it. That's what Johnny's done. Johnny's kicked the first goal in his head. So the next kick, he's just bloody, I've already done it once, I'm just doing it again. Visualisation really powerful. So what's your way of preparing?
I just focus on, like, before the game, what I need to do in situations, put myself in situations on the field mentally, and then try to enact those situations in my mind from what I've been taught.
I reckon that's a great one, because, you know, I don't know if you all heard that, but he thinks specifically about his skill set, what he needs to do when he's playing. So what he's doing is he's actually focusing by thinking exactly about what he has to do. So he's not thinking about anything else, he's just thinking about what he has to do. And it's a great one if you're nervous before a big game, or you're maybe tired and yawning and stuff like that, you know, your mind's not quite on it. You know, to think specifically about you doing whatever you have to do. If you're a lock, it might be going up and catching the ball beautifully in the line out, dropping down, feeling the support, feeling the ball go back. If you're a hooker, it might be throwing the perfect ball, the lock at the halfback, delivering the perfect pass. Whatever your position is, there is a core skill, responsibility. And thinking of that, or seeing it in your mind, is pretty powerful. Who else has got a way of preparing that they could tell us about?
I always, before the game, when we're on the field matchup, the inside center for the other team, look at him and see what I need to do how I'm going to take the ball into him, how I'm going to run at him. Think about actually him in the game.
When you run on the field, do you buddy go up and eyeball?
I mean, like when we're out. No, when we're out warming up and stuff, I always match up with him, figure out who he is, so I know.
So you're doing it by yourself. He doesn't know. Some people buddy go up. They do. There was one guy on that video, Richard Lowe. It was his way of bloody being mentally tough. He's a real hard bastard. And he was saying, "Fuck, mate, I'm going to be telling them, you know." And he was trying to intimidate, put pressure on the guy so the guy would be sort of, you know, off his game, not concentrating on what he had to do. So the mind is a real powerful tool, eh? Real powerful tool. Now, do you think that you can play rugby if you're in different moods? Do you think there's a certain mood you have that you play better in?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what mood is that? Relaxed?
Angry.
Angry? What else? What mood do you think it is that you can play well in?
Fear.
Scared?
No.
Fear? Fear? Time?
Whenever I catch my second wind, I always know, like, towards the end of the game, like you were saying earlier, I play better towards the end of the game. Like, I know that if I've warmed up well and I'm actually starting to get my second win before the game, then you'll be ready.
Okay,
I'm ready right then.
Okay, let's simplify. If you're in a bad mood or a good mood, where are you going to play best? Bad mood or good mood? Good mood. If you feel really, really confident, or you bloody are worried about your skill level, or maybe think the guy you're marking is better than you, so you're sort of feeling negative, you're going to play better when you're confident and positive, or negative?
Confident.
You are, eh? So, do you think you can change? So if you arrive at a rugby game and you're feeling negative, do you think you can change, or you're feeling in a shitty mood? You know, you just got stopped by the cops on the way to the game and given a ticket for doing something, or you know, your best mate ran off with your girlfriend last night, you can see him fucking nailing him. Sorry, Bob, sorry, I forgot the ladies in the room. But you know, you'd be in a shitty mood, wouldn't you, if that was happening? You know, you wouldn't be feeling very good. So do you think you can, if you agree or accept that if you're in a good mood, you're going to play better, if you're feeling confident and positive, you're going to play better, if you accept that, can you change your mood?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you should be.
You guys reckon you can change your mood? Okay, so you're in a bad mood. How can you change your mood to be in a good mood? Give me an example.
Get laid, huh?
Get laid? Yep, that's a bloody great way of doing it. We'll ask the ladies, sorry.
Focus your mind on something that makes you happy and get those negative out.
Exactly, exactly. So everybody has their thing, eh? This guy wants to get laid. The guy over in the corner wants to pull himself in the toilet. Everyone has their thing. Someone else wants to listen to laid back music. Someone else wants to listen to bloody heavy metal. You know? I had one guy in one of my classes, I want to eat a big steak and then I feel bloody good. You know, so even just thinking about eating a big steak made this guy feel good. He was a farmer from down south. But you know, you can change your mood so quickly. So I say, why wouldn't you change your mood? You know, sometimes I see people during the day and you know, they're like walking around like this and they're just pissed off with the world. And I might see that same person later in the day and they're still pissed off with the world. And I often think, why does that guy go through life like that? I mean, why doesn't he change his mood? I mean, you can't be having a good time if you're looking like you're pissed off all the time. What, hasn't someone told him that it's okay to feel good, you know? I mean, life's so much better if you're bloody positive and you feel good, isn't it? It's the same with your rugby. So in changing your mood, you can do it just like that. Just like that. You've got to know what makes you feel good. It might be thinking of your bloody mum. You know, it might be as simple as that. So you want to try that, get yourself in the right mood. But mood is great, and you've got to know about your mood. But all of you in this room have got an arousal level. An arousal level, I reckon, is really, really important for performance. Now, arousal level has nothing to do with sex, eh? Nothing at all to do with sex. It's a level, your mental level. And in fact, I'll explain it. If this is high arousal here on this side, and this is low arousal on that side. Okay? So the high arousal people are guys that in their normal everyday state are sort of, you know, wound up, excited, sort of. I'm a high arousal. I've got this thing burning inside. I don't know why. It's just been burning for years, and I've got no idea why. So I'm a high arousal. So it might be, you might be excited. You might be a nervy type of guy, nervous. You might be loud and boisterous. he just might be a high tempo sort of a person, you know, agitated, sort of, I'll put agitated. And over here, the low arousal people, these are the guys that are laid back, you know, the cool cats, laid back, or mellow, or even quiet. You've got to be careful of quiet though, because some quiet guys are really burning up inside, but generally speaking, quiet, calm. So, generally speaking, it's about 50-50, roughly 50-50. So 13 years of asking groups of rugby players whether high arousal or low arousal in a normal state, their normal state, I've had a variance no more than 60-40. And it'll be the same in this room. It'll be about half and half. So it doesn't matter. It's just the way it is, you know. So I could go around the room if you want me to, but you might have to take my word for it. This is a hell of a lot of people in this room. But it'll be roughly 50-50. So where do you think maximum performance is as far as arousal level? Do you think it's closer to being high arousal or low arousal or in the middle? Where do you think it is? Where do you reckon maximum performance is?
Middle.
High, close to the middle. Anyone want to have a go at low arousal?
It's different for each person?
No. Doesn't matter whether you're high or you can be high or low, doesn't matter. But maximum performance, they say, that's all those people, they say it's like this. And they say that band there, is where you get maximum performance, where you can perform at your very best, in the middle. So this means to me that if you're one of these guys like me, and you're in this sort of agitated sort of state before excited, I'm often excited and just feel, I don't know, I just don't feel like I could sit down and go to sleep. I feel like I'm fired up before the game. I'm here, so I've actually got to change my arousal level. I've got to drop it to get into that area, to get into that band. Who's a low arousal? Give me, put your hand up if you're low. Okay, you're a low arousal? Down there, I'll switch you, mate. So, if you're over here, you've got to, you've actually got to lift your arousal level. You've got to lift it and get a bit high tempo level, you know, before you go out in the rugby field, if you want to perform at your best. You lift it a certain amount. So, and coaches often go into a changing room, and maybe not in America, but I know certainly in our country, in a lot of rugby places I've been, and you often see a coach who goes in and he thinks he's worried about the game, and because he's worried, he's thinking that the boys aren't ready, you know, the boys aren't ready for this game. And he'll say something like, come on you guys, switch on, lift it, lift it, lift it. So what's he doing to these guys here? Which way is he sending them? He's sending those dudes this way, eh? I'm already excited, I don't need to be more excited, you know? So if you're excited and agitated, and he lifts your tempo even more, what are you going to do when you run on the rugby field? Yeah, you might hit a guy early, you might tackle a guy early, you might snap at a pass and drop it, you might fire a bad pass, you might punch someone, like a large penalty. What about these guys here? If they're too laid back and mellow and real cool, how do you reckon they'd go on the field, you know?
Shot of whiskey slapped in the face.
Yeah, say, oh, was that a gap? Why didn't I take that gap, you know? So we need you guys to lift yourself up a bit so that you're really ready to bloody take the gap, you know? So the coach that tries to drill his team and lift the tempo of his team, he's looking after half the players, and he's screwing up the other half. So he's better not worry about that, eh? What he's better do is educate his players and talk to them about this. And then say it's up to you. If you're a low arousal guy, and you all know when you're low arousal, everyone knows whether you're low arousal or high arousal, and that changes depending on what's happened to you just prior to the day, you know. So you just got to assess, where am I at the moment? Where am I on the chart of high and low arousal? And I've got to get to there if I want to play a good game. And it makes it a lot easier if you're in the right spot. You know, if you're in that sweet spot, everything just goes for you, doesn't it? So you've got to think about it. You've got to say, where am I and how am I going to get there? That's your challenge, guys. Where am I and how am I going to get there? So how might a low arousal guy pick up his action?
I have a playlist that I listen to before I go do anything.
A playlist? Playlist.
It's
So
like
what are you going to, what sort of music you listen to?
Backstreet Boys.
Hello, mate, back. That'll send you down here further. You'll really miss that gap, mate. In fact, you don't even know there's a gap till after the game. So I think. So what else could you play?
I like listening to Metallica.
Yeah, well, that'd charge you up, wouldn't it? Jesus. Yeah, drive you bloody slick, drive you crazy, wouldn't it? If you listen to Metallica all the time. But it would definitely lift your tempo, wouldn't it? Yeah, so that's just one way of doing it. Like at the moment, you're all a little bit, I would say arousal level in this room, most of you, I mean I'm trying to keep you up a little bit, but most of you are probably about here. But do you know that I can change every single one of you within 10 seconds? Within 10 seconds I can get you to there. You believe me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to prove it. That's how easy it is. I can do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to lift your arousal. Even the doubters. We doubters in this room. What's this guy talking about? Shit. Stand up. All of you stand up. I can see people. What I'm trying to do is prepare you for these guys here, because if you're on the job and your arousal levels, you know, you lift on lift, because I send you out half asleep on the rugby field, you'd be bloody hopeless, you'd be a waste of time for these guys. So look at this, yawning, the guys are tired, you know, they think, oh, another session on the field, how hot is it outside? But in 10 seconds I can lift your arousal level, and it's really simple, but you've got to do exactly what I do, okay? Exactly what I do. So, I want you to close your fists like this, and I want you to imagine that you're Tarzan. And I want you to beat your chest like I'm going to, and make Tarzan noise. This is really intellectual stuff. And I want to hear it. I want to hear every bloody one of you, and you've got to do it at the same time as me. And close your eyes. Can you feel the buzz? So your arousal level is just lifted. Okay, you sit down. So that's how easy it is, eh? That's how easy it is to change your arousal level. So why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it before a game? And some guys don't want to. Some guys have got to bring it back. And it's a bit harder to calm these guys down. It's easy to lift a guy, so if you lower arousal, it's pretty easy. What's another way of doing it in a rugby situation, of lifting your arousal level? Just pre-match.
Tackling drill?
Yeah, tackling drill. Hitting a hit pad, getting someone to hold a hit shield and hitting it. Another one.
Take really deep breaths, like inhale, exhale, like extremely.
Come back to you on that. Maybe sprinting bloody 20 metres. Real easy, you know, even doing 10 press-ups.
Headbutting something.
Just doing something energetic, you know, just for a very short period of time. Real easy, real easy. Now you can answer. So for these guys here, to get them to lay back a little bit, to calm down, to get the nervousness and the edginess out of your system, what can you do?
I know.
Deep breaths.
Breathe in and out. You can see I'm kind of high strung, so that's just second nature.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so you're a high arousal.
Yeah.
You're on my side.
Indeed.
Okay, so I'll tell you a story, and this is absolutely true. I coached an under-21 team at home, just for fun. And before the game, we were sitting, this was quite a big game. We were playing a team that was unbeaten. And these kids are all about 19 years of age. And we're playing in a big, well, for us it was a sort of a major ground because it had a grandstand. And there were a lot of people there. And so it was sort of, we were one off the top and they were the top. And we're sitting in the change room and I'm just going over what the game plan is. So I don't believe in trying to motivate or build up my players. I've been through sessions with them like this so they can do it for themselves. And so all I want to do is just remind them of what we're going to do, what the plan is staying. So I'm going over it. My open side flanker is going like this, and his head's going all over the bloody place, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, you know. And then I said, okay, head outside and warm up, eh? And this guy, I went over to him, he's sitting there and he stands up and he's like this. And I went over to him and I said, Chris, what's going on? He said, I've got to go home. I'm going to let the team down. I can't play, I'm going home. And he was having an anxiety attack. He was having a straight out anxiety attack just before the game. And I thought, shit, I must know how to handle this because I teach mental skills and how to get arousal level down. So I did what you do. So I said to him, hey, listen, I want you to do exactly what I'm doing. Chris, just stand there for a minute. Just stand there and look at me and do exactly what I'm doing. And all I did was I went, by the fifth one of those, I could see his whole body started to change. He was starting to calm down, and that's the absolute truth. And it was so easy. All he had to do was do deep breathing, you know. And that is one classic way of relaxing if you're nervous. It's a classic way. The calm guys don't need that.
I'm not thinking about that.
And that guy, by the way, that guy went out and he got the player of the day and he got 4 turnovers. So it was nothing, it was a moment. We had to change the moment, you know. And it's a message because it means that if you're not in the right place, you're not going to perform, you're not going to do the business, and there's nothing more frustrating than playing below what you're capable of playing. You know, I mean, how'd you like to play at your very best every bloody time you play? Be good, wouldn't it? Put your hand up if you'd like to play at the best every time you play. Shit's here. So you've got to think about where you're at and get yourself into that zone there and think about your mood and then just go there and bloody do the business. Okay, that's my session. Any questions on that? Yeah.
I was wondering what your thoughts on like pre-training supplements.
Pre-training supplements.
Yeah.
From a mental toughness point of view, I haven't got too many tools. Pardon?
Get yourself like psyched up.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that actually. I don't know much about that. It's quite interesting though. We have an academy at Sally. Yeah, you might better help me here, Jamie.
I see something there. Pause question now?
I was just, what are your thoughts on pre-training supplements or, caffeinated supplements before games?
Supplements.
Oh,
Stuff getting psyched up.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of players drink a lot of caffeine, drink a lot of coffee prior to the game.
Caffeine tablets.
Right.
Yeah.
Beetroot. You guys.
The low end guys do.
Yeah, I think these guys here, the higher arousal guys, wouldn't be very good for it. Just reflecting now on what your question is. I think it'd be bad for these guys, but maybe for these guys, I don't know. It's really interesting on that note, on supplements. In America, you guys have led the way for years, so you know more than we do. But we have an academy in South Africa and an academy in New Zealand. In New Zealand, we've been going 13 years since the game went. In South Africa, about 5. And I go to both programs. And in South Africa, they're all on the juice. They're all on supplements and additives and 18-year-old kids on it. It's just right across the board. It's just rampant. And in New Zealand, there's hardly anything. No one knows anybody who's on it. And we're really big on nutrition. really, really big on nutrition. You know, and studying energy release and what works for certain metabolism and performance levels through nutrition. So it's quite a different approach, I guess, to two different extremes in some respects. But high arousal, they don't need caffeine and those sorts of things, I'm sure. Maybe. Any other questions that I know about?
Yeah, that under 21 game didn't say if you won the game.
Pardon?
That your under 21 player, you said he got man of the match, but did you guys win the game?
Oh, we did. We did, yeah. We did, not by much, but we did. Yeah, it was great. I mean, but he was going to be key because, you know that drill that Jamie did last night? I reckon that is the most important thing in the game of rugby at the moment. And coaches don't coach it. Coaches say, well, the more you play, the better you get at it. Well, I don't agree with that. You've got to have a go at it, eh? And it's a hard one. Coaches don't coach it because they don't know how to. They just don't know how to, and it's even in our country, you know, where we all sort of live and sleep and eat rugby. And there's lots of coaches, but people are scared of doing it because it's a bloody hard one to do. And so open side flankers are supposed to be specialists at the breakdown. And, you know, if your open side flanker has a nightmare, you're not going to win a game. I mean, you can lose all your set play, but win the breakdown, win the tackle area in the breakdown, and win the game. So vital position, but today everyone, 1 to 15, doesn't matter what number's on your bloody jersey, you've got to be really competent at that, really accurate, and that's what we're trying to pass on actually, is technical. When you see bodies smashing and bashing each other, for a person that doesn't understand the game, it doesn't look very technical, it just looks like a whole lot of guys smashing each other. But it is when you break it down like Jamie broke it down last night, and everyone knows what they're trying to do and what the objective is.